Chancellor, Senate has resolved to confer the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, honoris causa, upon Dalee Sambo Dorough.
Chancellor. Dalee Sambo Dorough is an Alaskan Inupiaq who has been an international leader in human rights law, Indigenous peoples empowerment, and Arctic governance. Dr. Dorough studied justice and political science at the University of Alaska, Anchorage, and holds a master's degree from Tufts University's Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and a PhD in law from the University of British Columbia. Even before receiving this formal education, however, she was committed to the struggle for recognition of Indigenous rights, gaining certification as a tribal court advocate while still in high school. From this foundation, she has taken on a range of responsibilities among Inuit, Alaska Natives, and the global Indigenous peoples community. From 1982 to 1989, she was executive director of the Inuit Circumpolar Council, which represents 180,000 Inuit in Russia, Alaska, Canada, and Kalaalleq Nunaat, Greenland. Following this, she held posts as executive director of the International Union for Circumpolar Health and the Alaska Intertribal Council. She then served for 11 years as associate professor of international relations in the Department of Political Science at the University of Alaska, Anchorage, before returning to the Inuit Circumpolar Council to serve as its elected chair from 2018 through 2022. She presently is senior scholar and special advisor on Arctic Indigenous peoples at the University of Alaska, Anchorage. While holding these positions, Dr. Dorough has taken on voluntary leadership in a number of international fora, including the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues and the International Law Association's Committee on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. She has served as the Arctic Region representative to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change's Facilitative Working Group, and now holds the post of Arctic Region member of the UN Expert Mechanism on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. In these roles, Dr. Dorough has played a crucial part in implementing two key global accords protecting the rights of Indigenous peoples: the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the International Labor Organization's Convention 169 concerning Indigenous and tribal peoples in independent countries. Throughout her work, she has advocated for international law and governance instruments to account for Indigenous ways of understanding the world, as well as maintaining conditions for continuing Indigenous lifeways. Dr. Dorough's tireless advocacy has earned her numerous honors, including in 1988, the Reebok Human Rights Award, and in 2022, the International Arctic Science Committee Medal, in recognition of her efforts to build bridges between Indigenous ways of knowing and Western science, and for exploring how a dialogue between the two can inform policy. In 2020, USA Today named her one of Alaska's 10 most influential women of the past 100 years. In short, Dalee Sambo Dorough embodies Durham University's long-standing commitment to Arctic research, to justice, to female leadership, to Indigenous empowerment, and to bold interventions that rely on diverse sources of knowledge to address forces from climate change to colonialism that challenge all of our livelihoods. Chancellor, I present Dalee Sambo Dorough to receive the degree of Doctor of Civil Law honoris causa.
Here you are. Dalee Sambo Dorough, I, by the authority of Durham University, confer upon you this degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Congratulations, and thank you for being with us. You really honour us today. Thank you.
Fiona.
Thank you.
Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, allow me to simply express my gratitude to Durham University for this acknowledgement and further say that it's an important signal to the world community that an academy such as Durham University has chosen to recognize the contributions that I've made on behalf of my people, the Inuit, throughout Russia, Alaska, Canada, and Greenland, but even more significantly, the acknowledgement of the challenges that face Indigenous peoples across the globe. And I would like to appeal to the graduates in particular, but to all others, to think about human rights and their attachment to Indigenous peoples in communities across the globe. And consider how you, as members of civil society, can help Indigenous peoples to shed the cloak of colonialism. What contributions can you make to assist Indigenous peoples in your day-to-day lives, the work that you do? Take into account the challenges that we face and consider how you yourselves can make a contribution and become a human rights advocate, sometimes in the smallest of ways, sometimes in momentous actions. So I appeal to you to think about it in your quietest moments. What contributions can you make? Again, Kuyanakbak, thank you for this recognition and the acknowledgement. I am humbled. I am honored. Kuyanak.